More details on an outbreak in Muskoka retirement residence. How to get help when you need it most in Ontario. And the trek continues despite COVID-19. All that and more coming up right now. Welcome to Cogeco News for May the 6th. I'm James Bowler with what's happening in your community. Well, there are no new confirmed cases of COVID-19 to report in Muskoka from the Simcoe Muskoka District Health Unit. This was the trend for just over a week until the health unit found a confirmed case in one of Muskoka's retirement residences, Muskoka Traditions from Chartwell. During his media update today, health unit official Dr. Charles Gardner spoke about when this infection was confirmed and the next steps being taken.
We've got a new outbreak at Muskoka Traditions Retirement Home. One individual, a resident, female in her 90s, who's hospitalized at the Muskoka Algonquin Health Care Center, was declared on May the 4th, one resident case, and universal swabbing of that facility. All staff and residents is taking place at that facility. Infection control practices are in place. Muskoka Algonquin Healthcare is arranging for an infection prevention and control evaluation of that facility. So the testing of the residents and the staff at Muskoka Traditions took place this morning, and at 11 o'clock, all the staff and the residents that were present at that time were tested. And then community paramedics will continue testing or complete the testing of the remaining staff who are anticipated to arrive later today. The testing team comprised local physicians, home and community care staff, and community paramedics, and so we would like to thank them all for taking on this task and working with us to this end.
The District of Muskoka is now also undergoing proactive testing of all patients, residents, and staff at the Pines and Bracebridge this week. Your TV will continue to follow that story and provide updates on anything that comes from that testing. 211 Ontario is a free helpline that connects individuals and families with critical social supports in our communities. Joining us on Your TV is Karen Milligan, Executive Director for Ontario 211 Services, to explain what 211 Ontario is and how to reach out for help.
Well, we'll start with the easiest question. And 211 has been around actually since about 2002 in Canada, but it is a helpline. It's more than anything, it's navigation assistance when people need help, but they aren't sure where to begin. They might not be aware of what services are available to them. So our role is to help them navigate through those services and find what they need. We've certainly experienced about 50 to 100% increase of call volume, depending on the day, and depending on what kind of announcements are being made by various ministries and government officials. But what we've found is a huge increase in call volume, and really that indicates a greater need for the services that we can refer people to. And primarily that's been around food, financial assistance, and things like mental health supports. As we know, it's a very anxious time for a lot of people. So, well, 211 actually connects people to the broadest range of services available, and that really runs the gamut from sort of prenatal services and supports all the way to senior supports and palliative care. It really does take into effect things like daycares that are low cost or certainly subsidized in some way, or it could just be where there are public daycare facilities that are still open. And that's on a day-to-day basis. So over the course of the pandemic, what we've seen is there's been a greater need for things like food programs, Meals on Wheels, visiting nurses and or home care, and certainly things like financial assistance. There's a greater number of people than ever before who might have lost their jobs and have never had to apply for financial assistance of any kind before. So it is pretty daunting. There's a lot of supports available, but wading through all of those and figuring out which one applies is something that we can help people figure out. And we certainly receive a lot of phone calls from people who are looking for healthcare services. So we can absolutely direct people to their local public health unit, where the urgent care centers are, even, where the new assessment centers are for their community. But at the end of the day, we are not medical professionals. And so, if people are looking for advice on symptoms and that sort of thing, those are properly redirected to telehealth or to the local public health authorities. One of the benefits of 211 is that it is a 24/7 service. So our helpline is answered 24/7, 365 days a year. You can email at gethelp@211ontario.ca, and you can do that any time of day or night. You can visit our website at 211ontario.ca to search for services, and you can do that by entering a keyword or looking at the topics that are there in the way that those services are organized. So all of that is available 24/7. We do have limited hours for our chat service. So it is available Monday to Friday, 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. And then certainly in the after hours, when most other services are closed, that helpline is still available. Well, the only other thing that I will mention is that in terms of the increased volume we're seeing, we're also able to collect information from people about those needs, and also certainly where we're seeing gaps in service. And we're being able to feed that information through to decision makers. So some of those needs are able to be met because somebody has reached out and identified that maybe their area is not being served, or that they can't access the programs that are available. So that's a really nice give back, if you will, is the detailed information that we collect, and very much at a population or aggregate level, but it is able to be shared back with local and provincial authorities, and that can really inform where supports are needed.
We are going to take a quick break. We'll be right back after this. Welcome back. The Trek for Tourette is returning this year, and amid the COVID-19 pandemic, it's taking a virtual twist on its new route.
Back in March, the Trek for Tourette had been scheduled for March 29th. We were about 2 weeks away, and then with COVID-19, we had to abruptly stop the event from happening and postpone and just kind of wait and see. Now, typically, the Trek for Tread happens in March because it's an unpredictable month, weather-wise and temperature-wise, just like those living with Tourette have an unpredictable life. So now here we find ourselves 2 months later, and Tourette Canada has gone ahead with the Trek for Tourette on May 31st. So it's an unusual month for us. It's an unusual trek, so we're calling it an untraditional trek. So basically, the gathering of the Trek for Tourette this year is going to have to happen virtually, because we want to respect social distancing. So basically, the gathering is going to happen through our Facebook and Twitter pages and hashtags of untraditional trek. And that's how we're going to be able to gather this year as community. And for a lot of those families who have a diagnosis of Tourette syndrome, the trek is a really important day because it's a chance for some of the young children who might be diagnosed to actually meet other kids with Tourette. And that just helps normalize things for them and their families, and it helps sort of build that community of support. I was diagnosed with Tourette syndrome when I was 14. All my life I made little facial twitches. Luckily, I'm very mild, so people really didn't notice my tics, and I didn't get a formal diagnosis until I was in high school. So luckily for myself, but since then I've become a bit of a community advocate for Tourette syndrome, especially with myself as a teacher in the community. I like to use these opportunities to help make a difference for those who maybe have a more severe case of Tourette syndrome, letting them know that yes, it can affect you, but you can also survive and have not just survive, thrive and have a career. So the Muskoka Trek for Tourette will be happening on Sunday, May 31st, which is unusual because usually it's in March, around noon, but it all depends on the individuals, and we're going to be having people share photos, videos, tweeting on Facebook and Twitter of their experience that day, and we'll be compiling it all and sharing it over the week afterwards to sort of build that sense of community and just show a phase of Tourette syndrome in Muskoka.
We're back to the break, but stay tuned for more after this. Welcome back. Well, if you were hoping for some balmy weekends ahead, you're likely not going to get your wish. Most of Ontario is going through some very unseasonably cold weather for the next little while, especially this weekend. I caught up with Environment Canada meteorologist Gerald Chang over the phone recently to hear more about this polar vortex that is causing some of us some late spring misery.
the polar vortex is always situated around the North Pole, and it's just expanding. And that expansion is allowing the cold air to come down to the south where we are, and that's why we are experiencing some cold weather, especially heading into the weekend. For the Muskoka, Parry Sound region, it's still quite cold. If you look at the daytime highs forecast for Friday and Saturday, we're at least 13 or 14 degrees off the normal. So this is a tremendous cold stretch that we'll be going through. I apologize for being the bearer of bad news if you're looking for really warm weather, but it looks like it won't be, at least for a little bit. And even by the time the long weekend comes around, we'll be just making it to seasonal norms. So we do have to be patient.
We're taking another break, but when we come back, I have a very special guest showing up. And that's Ralph Watson. We actually saw him earlier this week delivering his papers along Caesars Lane. And actually, I was him in studio today to talk to us about his newspaper. Ralph, thank you very much for joining us today. You look very excited right now.
Yeah,
What did you think? You just saw yourself on TV there.
I know.
How does that feel?
Good.
Yeah? You're pretty excited about that?
Yeah.
So, Ralph, we did talk during the interview I did with you about the paper, but people have been so interested in what you're doing, so we wanted to talk a bit to you again about this newspaper and what you're doing. So tell me a bit about why you started Caesars Lane and what it means.
I started Caesars Lane so that way we could meet people and other things and meet new people. And the purpose of it is news of the street. It's like to keep everyone company. Like if it's for an example, like if it's a rainy day like today, then I would deliver newspapers to make their day.
Okay, so you've got a copy of yesterday's edition, I believe, of Caesars Lane, All Stars. So can you read to me a bit about what was in the All-Star? Now, first of all, just explain to me the All-Stars, because you were telling me that this is based off of a few stories from the neighborhood, people that have been writing to your paper now.
I could read some of the news.
Yeah, read a bit of the news for us.
Okay. Oliver Cell camper slept in new one. Snoring happened. Lee and Greg have new puppies. Ralph and Simone made rock candy yesterday. It was, I could say the day before yesterday.
Yep.
Weather for tomorrow actually. Cloud and rain. Weather for tomorrow, same as today.
So I should explain, and maybe we can go into this a bit more. This
and they're doubles, and
They're
there's
double-sided?
still
There's a
two
lot
more
of news
pages.
there. Yeah, there's a lot
Two
of.
more.
We won't go through all of them there, but this, as I was saying before, this is made up. People wrote some of this paper for you, right?
Yeah, they wrote some news, and it was a little too much, so we decided to make All Stars.
So you've inspired other people on your street to write news and build out Caesar's Lane News.
Yeah, they have been people sometimes send news.
Yeah.
And we put that in the news.
Yeah, it's
There
very
was
cool.
one more news that we decided to not do.
Okay.
It was to sell a bed because my mom would want that bed. She would like that bed.
That's what we call a conflict of interest in the news. So the reason we brought you on, because you said that you wanted to, in the future, you want to be a broadcast journalist. You want to be on the radio or TV, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah? So how do you feel, like this is your first opportunity doing it? How does it feel?
Good.
Yeah? Do you still want to do it?
I want to do it like every day.
Every day. Well, I don't know if we get you in every day, but we'll try to get you back in at another time. What do you think?
Yeah, maybe in the future I can do it every day.
All right, well, keep an eye out for Ralph Watson. This could be a future Muskoka journalist right here. Ralph, we're going to take a break now, and you're going to be the one to take us to break. So I've given you quite an important job there to read. You take it away.
We're taking a quick break, but stay tuned for Muskoka on Stage.
You may be stuck inside for a bit longer. so I've got some great shows to keep you entertained in the comfort of your home. Get ready for another run of Hunters Bay Radio's Quarantunes. This week features local band The Hillbirds. You can head over to Hunters Bay Radio's Facebook page for all the details for the show running Thursday night at 7 p.m. On Saturday, you can get your fill of 90s throwback tunes as Huntsville Festival of the Arts brings together former Huntsville High School students and staff to revive the Black Hole Cabaret in a quarantine reunion concert online. And in the true spirit of this former cabaret series, all proceeds raised will be donated to the local food banks to help support their need in this ongoing pandemic. Head over to huntsvillefestival.ca for more details. And get your tickets now for a very special virtual concert from Twin Flames. Twin Flames pushes the boundaries of contemporary folk with indigenous Inuit influenced songs that incorporate both Western and traditional instruments. Tickets are on sale now for this Sunday online concert through Huntsville Festival of the Arts, which gets you access to the private Zoom presentation. If you're still not sure about this amazing duo, here's a bit of what you can expect during the virtual show. That's it for this week, but make sure to tune in again next week for some more virtual shows coming up soon.
Well, that's Cogeco News. For more information on the program, head over to yourtv.tv or connect with us on social media by searching Your TV Muskoka. Remember, we are live at 5 Monday to Thursday. Now, I'm going to leave you with a bit of footage from today's repatriation ceremony at CFB Trenton of 6 Canadians recently killed in a helicopter crash. Please stay home and stay safe.